John D. Rockefeller established the Standard Oil Company, achieving unparalleled success that catapulted him to become the planet's first billionaire and a renowned philanthropist. Throughout his lifetime and in the years following his passing, he attracted a blend of supporters and critics. Wall Street idolized his money-making abilities, investigative journalists uncovered his unethical corporate tactics, and his charitable endeavors left behind a lasting legacy of generosity. John D. Rockefeller, the second child born to William A. and Eliza Davison Rockefeller, came into this world on July 8, 1839, on a farm in Richford, New York. The family resided in modest circumstances, and during his early years, they frequently relocated. In 1851, they moved to Oswego, New York, and later in 1853 settled in Ohio. Young John attended Oswego Academy and upon arriving in Ohio, enrolled at Central High School in Cleveland. He also became a member of the Erie Street Baptist Church. Actively engaged in the church's activities, he assumed the role of a trustee at the tender age of 21. In 1855, John D. Rockefeller left high school to pursue a business course at Folsom Mercantile College. Remarkably, he completed the 6-month program in just 3 months and secured a position as assistant bookkeeper at Hewitt & Tuttle, a small firm specialized in commission merchandising and product shipping. Within a few months, he was promoted to the position of cashier and bookkeeper. In September 1855, at the age of 16, Rockefeller secured his inaugural position as an assistant bookkeeper. His dedication to the job was evident through long hours he put in, and he later reminisced about his profound interest in the various office methods and systems. One of his standout skills was his knack for computing transportation expenses, a skill that would prove invaluable in his future endeavors. A significant part of Rockefeller's responsibilities revolved around negotiating with barge canal owners, ship captains, and freight agents. Through these negotiations, he discovered that the seemingly fixed transportation rates could be adjusted based on circumstances and the timing of shipments, something utilizing rebates for favored shippers. For his initial 3-month apprenticeship, Rockefeller received a monthly wage of $16. Over the course of his first year, his monthly earnings increased to $31, and this figure further rose to $50 per month. In his final year in this position, he earned $58 per month. As a young man, Rockefeller is said to have voiced 2 lofty aspirations: amassing a fortune of $100,000, which is equivalent to $3.14 million today, and reaching the age of 100 years old. In 1859, Rockefeller ventured into the produce commission business alongside 2 partners, Maurice B. Clark and George W. Gardner. They formed a company known as Clark, Gardner & Company, and together they raised $4,000 in capital, equivalent to around $130,000 today. It was Clark who proposed the partnership and contributed $2,000 to kickstart this enterprise. At the time, Rockefeller only had saved up $800, so he borrowed $1,000 from his father, Big Bill Rockefeller, with a 10% interest rate. From this point forward, Rockefeller made consistent progress in the business world, achieving profitability each year of his career. In their initial 2 years, Clark, Gardner, and Rockefeller generated profits of $4,400. Their earnings soared during the American Civil War as the Union Army demanded substantial quantities of food and supplies. During the second year of the Civil War, Gardner exited the business, resulting in the firm becoming known as Clark and Rockefeller. As the Civil War neared its conclusion and the prospects of wartime profits diminished, Clark and Rockefeller turned their attention to refinement of crude oil. While his brother Frank served in the Civil War, Rockefeller managed his business and hired substitute soldiers. He also contributed funds to the Union cause, a common practice among affluent Northerners who didn't directly participate in combat. Rockefeller expressed his desire to join the army and do his part, but due to the lack of a suitable replacement for his role in the business, he remained committed to its operation, as many depended on its continuity. By the end of the American Civil War, Cleveland had emerged as one of the 5 primary refining hubs in the United States, along Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, New York, and the northwestern Pennsylvania region, which was the primary source of oil production. By 1869, the refining capacity for kerosene had tripled, far surpassing the demand in the market, and this surplus capacity endured for several years. On January 10, 1870, Rockefeller dissolved the partnership of Rockefeller, Andrew, and Flagler and established Standard Oil of Ohio, leveraging his unwavering work ethic and commitment to efficiency. Rockefeller rapidly expanded the company to become Ohio's most profitable refiner. Simultaneously, it emerged as one of the nation's leading shipper of oil and kerosene. Standard Oil, officially known as the Standard Oil Company and Trust, was an American corporate and trust that spanned the years from 1870 to 1911. Stood as the dominant industrial empire under the helm of John D. Rockefeller and his associates. It wielded significant control of nearly all facets of oil production, processing, marketing, and transportation within the United States. The company's origins trace back to 1863, when Rockefeller, in collaboration with Maurice Clark and Samuel Andrews, ventured into the oil refining business in Cleveland, Ohio. In 1865, Rockefeller acquired Clark's interests, and within 2 years, he welcomed Henry Flagler as a partner in the enterprise. By 1870, the entity formerly known as Rockefeller, Andrews, and Flagler managed the largest refineries in Cleveland. Through a combination of competition elimination, mergers with other companies, and the utilization of advantageous railroad rebates, by 1880, the company had achieved dominance in the refining of 90 to 95% of all oil produced in the United States. Standard Oil's aggressive and often seen cutthroat competitive tactics, coupled with the increasing public animosity towards monopolies, with Standard Oil being the most well-known example, prompted several industrialized states to pass anti-monopoly laws. In 1882, the Standard Oil Company, along with its affiliated firms engaged in oil production, refining, and marketing, was consolidated under the Standard Oil Trust. This trust was established through the Standard Oil Trust Agreement signed by 9 trustees, including John D. Rockefeller. The agreement granted the authority to acquire, establish, dissolve, merge, or separate companies. Over time, the trustees oversaw approximately 40 corporations, with 14 of them being under full ownership. Standard Oil of New Jersey, founded in 1882, represented one facet of this trust. The Standard Oil Trust was intentionally structured with a complex web of legal entities, rendering its inner workings nearly immune to public scrutiny and comprehension. As Ida Tarbell noted in her History of the Standard Oil Company in 1904, you could infer its existence from its consequences, but you couldn't definitely prove it. In 1892, the Ohio Supreme Court issued an order to dissolve the trust, but it effectively continued its operations from its headquarters in New York City. As a devoted Baptist, Rockefeller increasingly directed his focus towards charitable and benevolent activities during the 1890s. Starting in 1897, he wholeheartedly dedicated himself to philanthropy. He played a pivotal role in establishing the University of Chicago in 1892, and by the time of his passing in 1937, just before his 98th birthday, due to a heart attack, he had contributed around $35 million to the university. In collaboration with his son, John D. Rockefeller Jr., he was instrumental in establishing significant philanthropic institutions, including the Rockefeller Institute for Medical Research, later named the Rockefeller University in New York in 1901, the General Education Board in 1902, and the Rockefeller Foundation in 1913. Rockefeller's charitable donations throughout his lifetime amounted to over $500 million. John D. Rockefeller passed away on May 23, 1937. He leaves behind a legacy and a life to be learned. Thank you for listening to Paradolia. Stay tuned for more.